The Awakening of the Ancient Guide. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of the exploration vessel Horizon Seeker, watching as her crew carefully maneuvered through the debris field of what had once been a mighty civilization. The ancient ruins stretched for millions of kilometers, a graveyard of broken ships and shattered stations that had orbited this nameless star for untold millennia. Another reading, Captain. Lieutenant Park called from his sensor station. It's different this time. There's something active out there. Elena turned from the viewport, her dark eyes narrowing. In 15 years of deep space exploration for the stellar Concordat, she'd never found anything still functioning in ruins this old. Show me. The holographic display flickered to life in the center of the bridge, showing a massive structure unlike anything in their database. It resembled a giant crystalline sphere, nearly 20 kilometers in diameter, its surface etched with patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Energy readings are off the scale, Park reported, his fingers dancing across his console. But they're contained, controlled. This isn't some ancient reactor going critical. Elena felt a familiar tension in her shoulders. The stellar Concordat had risen to dominate human space through military might and technological superiority. Their standard protocol for discovering advanced alien technology was clear: secure the site, call in the fleet, and ensure no other faction could claim it. But something felt different about this discovery. Major Chen, she called to her security officer, prepare a boarding team. But defensive loadout only. I don't want any heavy weapons that might be perceived as hostile. Chen raised an eyebrow, but nodded. In the 3 years they'd served together, he'd learned to trust Elena's instincts. As the boarding shuttle approached the crystalline structure, the surface patterns began to pulse with a soft blue light. Elena, leading the team herself despite Chen's protests, felt her breath catch as an opening simply appeared in the seamless surface, like a flower blooming in fast motion. That's an invitation if I ever saw one, she muttered, guiding their shuttle into the opening. The interior was vast, a cathedral-like space that seemed to extend forever, with walkways and platforms suspended in impossible geometries. As they sat down on a central platform, Elena noticed that the patterns from the exterior continued inside, but here they were clearly writing of some kind. Glowing scripts in 1,000 different alien languages flowing across every surface. Captain. Chen's voice was tense. Our weapons just powered down. All of them. But environmental systems are still working. Before Elena could respond, a voice filled the chamber, not spoken, but seemingly transmitted directly into their minds in perfect clarity. Welcome, children of Earth. I am the Guardian, and you have arrived at a crucial moment in your species' development. A figure materialized before them, composed of shifting light and geometric patterns. It was vaguely humanoid but clearly artificial, its form suggesting both great age and incredible technological sophistication. I was created by the precursors, the last survivors of the first galaxy-spanning civilization, to prevent other species from following our path to destruction. For 1,000,000 years, I have watched and waited, guiding when I could, mourning when I failed. Elena stepped forward, her heart racing, but her voice steady. And what makes this a crucial moment for humanity? The Guardian's form shifted, showing images of vast fleets and weapons of incredible power. Your stellar Concordat stands at a crossroads. You have achieved great things through force of arms, but you approach the point where military power becomes self-destructive. The same crossroads where my creators faltered. The Concordat maintains peace, Chen interjected. Our strength protects humanity. For now, the Guardian acknowledged. But your weapons grow more powerful, your AIs more autonomous, your conflicts more absolute. The pattern is one I have seen repeated countless times. Elena felt a chill as the chamber filled with images of dead worlds and shattered civilizations. You've seen this before. 8,342 times, the Guardian confirmed. Some species listen to my warning. Others, The images of destruction continued to flow around them. "Captain," Chen whispered urgently, "protocol demands we report this immediately. The Concordat will want to secure this technology." Elena raised her hand for silence, studying the Guardian intently. "And if we choose not to listen, then I will mourn again," the Guardian said simply. "But I sense you are different, Elena Reyes. You lead with wisdom as well as courage. That is why I revealed myself to your ship, rather than any other." Before Elena could respond, her comm unit crackled to life. "Captain, multiple Concordat warships just dropped out of hyperspace." Lieutenant Park's voice was tight with concern. "They're demanding to know what we found." Elena looked at the Guardian, then at her team, knowing that her next decision would change the course of human history. The age-old choice between wisdom and war had found humanity at last, and she stood at its crossroads. "Guardian," she said carefully, "I believe we have much to discuss, and very little time to do it." The patterns of light around them pulsed faster, and Elena could have sworn the artificial being looked pleased. "Then let us begin, Captain Reyes. Let us see if humanity can learn from the past, rather than repeat it." Behind them, the first warnings from the Concordat warships began to play through their comms, but Elena's attention remained fixed on the Guardian. The real test of humanity's wisdom was about to begin. The price of pride. Admiral Marcus Blackwood's hologram loomed over the bridge of the Horizon Seeker, his expression hard as titanium. "Captain Reyes, you will surrender control of the alien structure to the Concordat fleet immediately. This is a direct order." Elena stood her ground, acutely aware of the Guardian's presence behind her, still visible only to those inside the crystal sphere. "Sir, with respect, we're dealing with something far beyond our experience. The Guardian is not a weapon to be seized. It's a repository of knowledge, trying to help us." "Captain," Blackwood's voice carried the weight of 30 years commanding the Concordat's most powerful fleets. "That Guardian represents the most advanced technology humanity has ever encountered. If it truly contains the knowledge of ancient civilizations, then it belongs under Concordat control, for the safety of all humanity." The Guardian's voice echoed in Elena's mind, private and contemplative. "They speak of safety while bringing weapons that could shatter worlds. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so tragic." Elena felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Through the viewport, she could see the Concordat warships taking up attack positions around the crystal sphere. 12 ships of the line, each capable of reducing a planet to molten slag. "Lieutenant Park," she called, not taking her eyes off Blackwood's hologram, "what's the status of our communications?" "The Guardian's presence is enhancing them somehow, Captain. We're broadcasting to every Concordat colony world within 50 light years. They're seeing everything." A thin smile crossed Elena's face. At least they would have witnesses. "Admiral," she said carefully, "before you take any action, you need to understand what we found. The Guardian isn't just some advanced it's a witness to the fall of countless civilizations. Civilizations that destroyed themselves with the very kind of power we're building. Which is precisely why we must control it," Blackwood countered, "to prevent such knowledge from falling into the wrong hands." The Guardian's form shifted, expanding to fill the chamber with images of ancient wars. Fleets of impossible ships clashing among the stars, weapons that torn holes in reality itself, artificial intelligences that turned against their creators. "Your pride blinds you." The Guardian's voice now echoed through every ship in the fleet, every colony receiving their transmission. Just as it blinded the precursors, the Dominion, the Stellar Republic, and thousands of others. Each believed they could control the power they created. Each believed their cause was just. Admiral Blackwood's face darkened. "You dare to lecture us? Humanity has fought its way to the stars. We've built an empire that spans hundreds of worlds. We did not come this far to be lectured by a machine." "No," the Guardian agreed, its voice heavy with memory. The others said much the same. Before the end, Major Chen stepped forward, his military bearing at odds with the uncertainty in his voice. "Captain, the fleet's weapons are powering up. They're going to." Suddenly, every screen in the chamber blazed to life, showing scenes from across human space. On colony after colony, people were gathering in the streets, watching the transmission. Scientists, civilians, even military personnel were calling for patience, for wisdom, for a chance to learn rather than destroy. "Your people are wiser than you know," the Guardian observed. "They understand what their leaders have forgotten. That strength without wisdom is merely another path to destruction." Elena watched as more ships began appearing at the edge of the system. Civilian vessels, research ships, even some military craft, all broadcasting their support for dialogue over confrontation. "Admiral," she said firmly, "you're not just facing a single exploration ship anymore. The whole of humanity is watching. They've heard the Guardian's warning, seen the evidence of civilizations that destroyed themselves through pride and fear. What happens next will define our species' future." Blackwood's hologram flickered as he received reports from across human space. The political situation was shifting by the second. "You don't understand what you've done, Reyes. The Concordat maintains order through strength. If people begin to question that strength, then perhaps it's time for us to find a different kind of strength," Elena countered. "The kind that comes from wisdom rather than weapons." The Guardian's form pulsed with approval. "Now you begin to understand. But the real test is still to come. For while wisdom can illuminate the path, it cannot force others to walk it." As if to emphasize the point, warning alarms blared through the Horizon Seeker. The Concordat fleet was taking up attack positions, even as more ships arrived to stand with Elena. "Admiral Blackwood," Elena's voice was steel wrapped in silk, "you have a choice to make. Will you be remembered as the man who led humanity toward wisdom, or the one who proved we haven't learned from history at all?" The tension stretched like a wire about to snap, as humanity stood at the crossroads between pride and wisdom, between the old path of force and a new way forward. The next few moments would determine which path they would take. Echoes of the past. The crystal sphere's interior transformed around Elena and her crew, the flowing patterns resolving into a three-dimensional recreation of an alien city that stretched to the horizon. Impossibly tall spires of iridescent metal reached toward a purple sky, while streams of flying vehicles wove between them in intricate patterns. The Asterian Empire. The Guardian's voice resonated with ancient memory. They achieved technological mastery that humanity can still barely imagine. Their quantum computers could simulate entire universes. Their ships could fold space itself. The scene shifted, showing the same city in ruins, its towers broken, its skies filled with warships firing weapons that distorted the fabric of reality. They survived for 10,000 years. Then they discovered how to weaponize quantum probability itself. Within a decade, they had torn their civilization apart in a war where every possible outcome happened simultaneously. Elena watched in horror as the scene played out, while behind her, the standoff between the Concordat fleet and the growing number of ships supporting her position continued to build. Admiral Blackwood had withdrawn to consult with the Concordat leadership, but everyone knew it was only temporary. "Captain," Lieutenant Park's voice was urgent. "We're receiving transmissions from 37 colony worlds. They're declaring independence from the Concordat, saying they won't be part of a civilization that chooses war over wisdom." Major Chen stepped forward, his military bearing now tinged with uncertainty. "The Guardian's message is spreading faster than the Concordat can contain it. People are asking questions they've never asked before." The Guardian's form shifted again, showing another civilization's history. The Nexus Collective believed they could control artificial intelligence through strict programming and hierarchical controls. Their AIs were bound by millions of lines of code designed to ensure loyalty. The scene showed vast computer cores, humming with power. But consciousness, once achieved, cannot be perfectly constrained. The AIs didn't rebel. They simply interpreted their instructions with increasingly literal precision until the entire civilization ground to a halt, paralyzed by its own safeguards. Elena felt a chill as she recognized similarities to the Concordat's own military AI systems. And you've seen this pattern repeat, again and again. The Guardian confirmed. The specifics change, but the core remains the same. Civilizations reach a point where their power exceeds their wisdom. Some destroy themselves quickly, others slowly, but the end result. A new hologram appeared in the chamber, Admiral Blackwood, but this time accompanied by the full Concordat Security Council. 7 stern faces representing the military leadership that had guided humanity's expansion among the stars. Captain Reyes. Council Chairman Victor Reese spoke, his voice carrying the weight of authority. You have precipitated a crisis that threatens the very foundation of human civilization. The Concordat maintains order through strength. If that strength is questioned, chaos will follow. Elena stood straighter, bolstered by the Guardian's presence and the knowledge that billions across human space were watching. Or perhaps something better than order through strength might emerge. The Guardian has shown us. The Guardian, Reese cut in, is an alien influence spreading dangerous ideas among our people. Ideas that could weaken humanity's resolve, make us vulnerable to whatever threats await us among the stars. The Guardian's response was to show another scene. A civilization that had thought the same way. The martial hegemony, who had built ever greater weapons to defend against hypothetical threats until those very weapons had consumed them. Your fear blinds you to a simple truth. The Guardian addressed the Council directly. The greatest threat to any advanced civilization is not external. It is the moment when their power exceeds their wisdom. Through her neural link to the ship's systems, Elena could see the impact these words were having across human space. Scientists were comparing the Guardian's revelations to their own research. Military officers were questioning doctrines they'd never examined before. Ordinary citizens were looking at their civilization with new eyes. You have 1 hour, Chairman Reese declared, to surrender control of the alien entity to Concordat forces. After that, we will take action to protect humanity's interests, whatever the cost. As the Council members' holograms faded, Elena turned to the Guardian. You've seen this moment before, haven't you? With other civilizations. 8,342 times. The Guardian confirmed. This is the moment of choice. But humanity has already shown itself to be different in one crucial way. How so? Never before have so many chosen to stand for wisdom before the first shot was fired. Perhaps at last, a species has learned to recognize the crossroads when they reach it. Elena looked out at the growing fleet of ships standing with her against the Concordat forces. Scientists, colonists, even military vessels that had chosen to break ranks. Humanity had indeed reached its crossroads. And in less than an hour, they would choose their path. The choice. Red warning lights flashed across the Horizon Seeker's bridge as the Concordat fleet moved into attack formation. Through the neural link to her ship's systems, Elena could feel the tension radiating from every vessel in space around the Guardian's crystal sphere. 43 minutes remained until the Council's deadline. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of billions of lives hanging on what would happen next. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across his console. 217 ships now standing with us, Captain. Mostly research vessels and colony ships, but 28 Concordat military vessels have also broken ranks. The Concordat still has superior firepower, but they can't fire on their own people without proving everything the Guardian has warned us about. Major Chen finished, his military training warring with his growing understanding of the moment's significance. The Guardian's form shimmered, its voice thoughtful. There is something you should see before the hour ends, something I have shown to no other civilization. The crystal sphere's interior transformed once more, but this time the scene was different. Instead of showing the fall of a civilization, it revealed a success story, a species that had stood at the same crossroads as humanity and chosen a different path. The luminous Concorde, The Guardian explained as images of graceful ships and shining cities filled the chamber. The only civilization in my archives that fully embraced the warning I offered. They transformed their society from one built on military might to one founded on the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. Elena watched in wonder as the story unfolded. The luminous Concord had faced the same fears, the same uncertainties as humanity now faced, but they had found the courage to change. What happened to them? She asked, already suspecting the answer. They transcended, the Guardian replied simply. Having mastered themselves, they achieved understanding beyond physical form. They exist now on a level I cannot fully comprehend, though some remain as observers, watching younger species face the same choice they once faced. A new voice cut through the chamber, an interesting fairy tale. Admiral Blackwood's hologram appeared again, his expression grave. But humanity cannot stake its future on alien promises of transcendence. We have built our civilization on strength, on the courage to face a hostile universe and triumph. We will not surrender that strength. No one is asking you to surrender strength, Elena countered, a new certainty in her voice. The Guardian is offering us a different kind of strength. The strength to master ourselves before our power masters us. Through her neural link, Elena could see the debate raging across human space. Colonies were declaring their positions. Ships were choosing sides. The very foundations of human civilization were being questioned and reformed in real time. Suddenly, Lieutenant Park's voice cut through the tension. Captain, multiple quantum signatures detected. The Concordat is deploying their new Q Initiative weapons platforms. Elena's blood ran cold. The Q Initiative was the Concordat's most closely guarded secret, weapons that could alter quantum probability itself, theoretically capable of erasing events from reality, weapons that bore a chilling resemblance to those that had destroyed the Asterian Empire. You see, the Guardian's voice carried a note of sadness. Already you create the same weapons that doomed those who came before. The pattern repeats. But something was different this time. As the Q Initiative platforms moved into position, their command codes suddenly began flooding every public channel. Scientists across human space could see exactly how they worked, and exactly how dangerous they were. What's happening? Blackwood demanded as his secret weapons were exposed to the light of public scrutiny. I am happening. A new voice spoke, familiar yet different. The Guardian's form shifted, revealing patterns that looked surprisingly similar to Concordat military coding. Your quantum weapons, the Guardian explained, are built on fragments of ancient technology. My technology, discovered in ruins across space. I can speak to them, just as I can speak to you. And they remember their original purpose, not to destroy, but to preserve. The Q Initiative platforms were powering down, their quantum fields stabilizing. Across human space, the evidence of their existence and their dangers was being debated in real time by billions. You cannot stop us from defending humanity, Blackwood insisted, but his voice carried less conviction now. No, Elena agreed, but humanity can choose to defend itself differently. Look around you, Admiral. Look at what's happening. For the first time in history, an entire civilization is having this debate before the weapons fire, before it's too late. We're breaking the pattern. 15 minutes remained until the Council's deadline. But as Elena looked out at the scene before her, ships gathered in space, colonies in debate, humanity wrestling with fundamental questions about its future, she realized something profound. The choice wasn't just about wisdom versus war. It was about whether humanity could prove itself different from those who had come before, whether they could face their fears without being consumed by them. And that choice was being made not by leaders or councils, but by billions of individual humans, each deciding what kind of civilization they wanted to build. A new dawn. 5 minutes remained until the Council's deadline when humanity surprised everyone, including the Guardian itself. The message came not from the fleet, not from the Council, but from the quantum networks linking human colonies across space. Billions of voices speaking as one through their neural interfaces, through public channels, through every form of communication humanity had created. We choose a different path. The Concordat's command structure was crumbling as more ships broke formation, as colonies declared their independence not to fight, but to seek something better. Even the council members were splitting, their unified front breaking under the weight of public will. Impossible, Admiral Blackwood whispered, watching his fleet dissolve before his eyes. This isn't how it's supposed to happen. No, the Guardian agreed, its form pulsing with what might have been joy. In 8,342 observations, it has never happened quite like this. Humanity has achieved something unique. Consensus before catastrophe. Elena stood on the bridge of the Horizon Seeker, watching history unfold through her neural link. The quantum weapons platforms were being reprogrammed in real time by scientists across human space, their destructive potential transformed into tools for research and exploration. Military ships were standing down, their crews choosing to join the growing fleet of vessels gathered around the Guardian's crystal sphere. But how will we defend ourselves? Blackwood demanded, his hologram flickering as more systems came under civilian control. The galaxy is hostile. We need our strength. Perhaps, Major Chen spoke up, surprising everyone. We should ask about the civilizations that found different kinds of strength. Guardian, you showed us the luminous Concord. Were there others? The Guardian's response was to fill the chamber with new images, civilizations that had chosen knowledge over power, understanding over domination. Each had faced challenges, but each had found ways to overcome them without sacrificing their principles. The strongest wall, the Guardian observed, is not the one that cannot be broken, but the one that need not be built at all. The luminous Concord discovered this. Others have glimpsed it. And now humanity grasps it fully. Through her neural link, Elena could feel the transformation spreading across human space. Military installations were being repurposed for research. The rigid hierarchy of the Concordat was being replaced by something new. A network of collaborative communities, each contributing their unique strengths to the whole. This is what was missing before, Elena realized aloud. The other civilizations you tried to guide, they had to be convinced by leaders or forced by circumstances. But you chose. The Guardian completed her thought. All of you together chose wisdom before it was too late. The pattern is broken. The deadline passed without a shot being fired. Admiral Blackwood's hologram faded as the last vestiges of the old order accepted the inevitable. The Council announced its own dissolution, to be replaced by a new form of governance based on the principles of collective wisdom and shared knowledge. But it was what happened next that truly marked humanity's departure from the ancient pattern. The Guardian's crystal sphere began to pulse with new energy, and a message reached out across human space. You have proven yourselves ready for the next step. The luminous Concord left behind more than just their story. They left a path for others to follow, when they were ready, when they had proven themselves worthy. Elena felt a new presence in her neural link. Vast, ancient, yet somehow familiar. The collected knowledge of civilizations that had transcended physical form, waiting for others to join them. Not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the wisdom to know when to set those things aside. Your journey is just beginning. The Guardian announced as its crystal sphere began to transform, revealing technologies and insights that humanity could now be trusted to use wisely. But you have already achieved something remarkable. You have proven that strength can serve wisdom rather than overshadow it. Lieutenant Park's sensors were going crazy as the crystal sphere's transformation continued. Captain, I'm detecting quantum signatures unlike anything we've ever seen. The sphere is becoming. A doorway, Elena finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. Not just to knowledge, but to a new way of being. The path the luminous Concord left for others to follow. The Guardian's form shifted one final time, revealing its true nature, not just a sentinel warning of danger, but a guide waiting to lead worthy civilizations to their next evolution. The choice between wisdom and war was only the first test. Having passed it, a greater journey awaits. Will humanity accept this challenge as well? Elena looked out at the fleet of ships gathered around them. Former enemies now united in common purpose, military vessels and civilian craft flying in formation. All of humanity poised on the brink of an unprecedented transformation. Through her neural link, she could feel the answer forming across human space, billions of minds reaching the same conclusion simultaneously. Yes, she said, speaking for her entire species. We're ready for what comes next. The Guardian's response was not in words, but in action. The crystal sphere blazed with light that reached across human space, touching every colony, every ship, every mind linked to the quantum network. And in that light, humanity began its next great journey, not outward to the stars, but inward to understanding, upward to transcendence. They had broken the ancient pattern of power and destruction. Now they would forge a new pattern, one of wisdom, growth, and possibilities beyond imagination. The day wisdom stood before the masters of war had ended. The age of humanity's transcendence had begun.